This is an SM Media production. Hi folks, and welcome to the debut episode of the SM Media Pro Wrestling Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Thanks very much for joining us on the first episode of this new project. We've got a lot planned over the next few months, but for the debut episode, I'm delighted to be joined by the Pro2 Wrestling owner, Logan Storm. Logan, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Two Ayrshire boys talking about wrestling. That's something you'll never see, is it?
Unusual.
Good, isn't it? Obviously, as well, how's preps going for the promotion and things like that? Big event on Saturday. We'll get into more about it later on, but obviously it must be a kind of stressful week.
It's always the week leading up to any show is always very stressful for any promoter. I mean, there's promoters that they're like, I don't stress about it, but you know the day they're looking at the numbers that's coming in, they're looking at the figures, they're thinking to themselves, is this going to actually be a good turnout? Are we going to get a chance to come back? We know, these things all happen.
Nah, it'll be good though. It's going to be entertaining. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about your career in the business and obviously the promotion you've set up. But there's never a dull moment in the wrestling world. Is that fair to say?
That is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and we see it obviously. We're recording this show in August. Vince McMahon is no longer the head of WWE. Did you ever think you would see that? Did you ever think you would be talking about that in a show?
I thought they would have to carry him out in the box, to be honest. But I'm not as stupid as to believe that he's completely and utterly stepped away.
Me neither.
I dare say he'll be somewhere in the background.
The thing with it is, though, right, and that is we could spend a full show talking about Vince McMahon, and he's been a big part of all our childhoods as wrestling fans. I think a lot of memories we have, Vince McMahon's been involved in them. But did you think this would be the thing that got him paying alleged payments to paralegals, and then obviously the chat today about paying off, paying $5 million to Donald Trump?
Yeah, exactly. It's very strange. This is how they've managed to get him to step down. Every time I look at Vince, I just think he looks ill. I know he's getting years, but he looks ill. I'm like, there's something eating him. I work in the hospital Monday to Friday. That's my other job. So I'm like, that man's no well. Like, he's got that look about him. He's just unwell. And for it to come down to that, but what is it, 3 million for his bit in the side or whatever it was, and then he passed her around like a Todd mag to be allegedly. It's a bit kind of, bit suspect.
It's a bit suspect. I think there's a lot of things we won't know, and I think we'll ever know. But the change, obviously, is Triple H is now in charge of creative. Already, yeah. I think it's fair to say there's a big change in the way that the show is going to be done. I think there's a lot more bringing old guys back, bringing kind of some people who were unfairly released and unfairly treated. He's went in straight away and just completely done his thing and changed the way he wants to do it.
Hats off to Triple H. Look what he did with the yellow and black brand, NXT. Turned that around. For years, it was just basically just dodding along. Triple H gets involved in it, brings Shawn Michaels in to help with it. Transpires into this newfangled absolute. People are tuning in to watch NXT, just Raw and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. And then they went across the pond and they did the NXT UK, and that was going really well. But that's changing now. I believe it's now NXT Europe.
Yeah, there's a real thing with that. Like, see, obviously you're the UK independent scene. Obviously you're a part of it. Is that a dream for the likes of you? Is like there's more talent out there that can come in, or is it a bit of a shame to see a big brand going?
I'm all for any company, really, to be honest with you. NXT UK, although it's the title's gone, it's still there for what I can see. Mm-hmm. They're just Europe because Triple H wants to expand, but it's. I feel sorry for the guys that was NXT UK that's now been released. Mm-hmm. So some of the guys were completely and utterly, we can't work for anywhere else. We can only work for WWE and folk that are attached to the Fed and stuff like that. That was it. And other guys are like, well, actually, I can work with MD. It just depends. But there's a lot of red tape with the contracts, I believe. I've spoken to a couple of the guys that was on the shows, and they've kind of said like it's a lot of red tape. So I mean, they could do it, but by the time they do all the paperwork stuff, is it really worth it? I mean, you want to come off the telly, and it's paying you megabucks, and you want to come work an independent show that's paying you peanuts, you know?
I know, but it's obviously you need to get kind of still performing somehow, and I think that's the big thing. But NXT Europe, but with Triple H taking over, what are we expecting for the UK pay-per-view? First time in a long time. There's a lot going on. Do you think there will be a massive change in the next few months in WWE?
Triple H has always said, like, I've been at shows where Triple H has basically said that he wants to bring the cameras in and let's do a big like proper Raw here and this, that, and the next thing. But it's the time frame. That's the whole reason why they can't do it, because America's behind us. Was it behind us? The time difference is too great. That's why we've got to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. They're wrestling in the afternoon. We're staying up 1 o'clock, watching it to 4 and 5 in the morning. You know, they stay at daylight, we stay off at night, and by the time the show is finished, it's daylight for us and night time for them. So that's the reason why they've never done it. But then they're back, Wales there. Some guys are paying $3,000, $3,000 and $4,000 to get into Wales to see a show. You know, more power to fans, like, fantastic that's what you want to do. But me personally, I'm thrifty with the pennies. That's a solid no chance. I mean, if you think about going to Mania, then you want to fly out to Mania, you're talking, I need $3,000 for spending money, because I need to be there for the whole week. Because Mania is not just Mania. You've got Hall of Fame, you've got SmackDown, you've got Raw, you've got all the independents that's running in between that, you've got all the meet and greets and stuff like that. So it's a whole week long festival, really. WrestleMania. Now it's running out 2 nights. So it's a huge thing if you're going to go to Mania, which is my dream. I've never been to Mania, but my old tag partner, he's been to Mania a couple of times and stuff. Your power to him.
It'd be good to go. It'd be unbelievable. But there's also big talk in AEW, another big promotion. CM Punk is back, and with CM Punk, obviously, we have backstage hassle, and I think there is potentially more to this than we know about.
I'm unaware of it. I'm unaware of what's happening in AEW. I've only just watched a bit of it this morning, actually. I try and keep up with everything that's going on, but
it's hard, isn't it? There's too much.
There's lots where you've got Rampage, you've got Dynamite, you've got SmackDown, you've got Raw, you've got ICW, you've got NXT, then you've got other companies that you're trying to see and stuff like that. And then as a promoter, you're getting guys sending you stuff all the time. It's like, could you picture? You know, I've seen it. Like, I've seen it online. Like, I've watched it. So any chance you can get a booking? Well, there will be a chance you can get a booking, but right now my shows are fully booked. I've fully booked my shows from now to the end of the year. I mean, after we've only got 2 left. We've got Battle Lines in October, and then we've got we're back at Anbank doing Brawl at the Hall on November 5th, and then that's me for the year. And will be back in February next year. I'll need to see, though. It'll probably be February or March. I like to try and tie in with the other promoters that are in Ayrshire and stuff like that, because there's no point me running a show 2 or 3 weeks before them running a show, and there's no point me running a show after them. So I need to get like a whole month round about. And I'm the kind of new kid on the block, although I've been here for a wee while. It's only right that you pay your dues and you pay your respects to these guys like BCW. I'm really friendly with Graham. Really friendly with him. So I've got a kind of wee agreement with him where I will not run when he's running. Like, so if I know I think he runs February, and that's in Kilmarnock. So I need to make sure that I don't have anything on in Ayrshire when that's running. And then once that show is by, then I can run a promotion, a show in there. I know that sounds really silly, but BCW is like up here. Like, I'm falling. I'm starting off. Like some of the guys will be like, "Hi, mate, you've got potential to be go if you were at the Toontown Hall." It's a lovely big venue. It's not as big as Grand Hall, but if we could get the crowds in and properly pack it out, you know, that atmosphere would be unreal, and everybody likes working it. Everybody that I was had on the show with Andy Wild, and I thought, this is a really nice venue. Like, yeah, it is. It's a really expensive venue too, but you know, these are the breaks. But there's loads and loads of footage going on now, and it's hard to keep up with all. But I only just seen that CM Punk's won the championship from the interim champion Moxley, Moxley fight each now, and they've both got a belt. No, I don't know. It's a bit confusing.
Obviously he was injured, I think, and then obviously I think instead of vacating, I think they do the interim thing like they do in the UFC. But the plan, I think, is to have that match in a couple of weeks. But I think CM Punk's caused a bit of there's problems there, and I think CM Punk backstage, I think there's always problems there. I think he's a he likes to do his own thing, and I don't think that MD can really tell him not to. But there's obviously with CM Punk, it's just good to see him back into it. He was a top guy for a long time. He was the best in-ring guy, I would say, for a long time. It's good to see him back.
I do like him. I like his mic work and stuff like that. I could listen to him talk all day. I'm not overly keen on his wrestling.
Right.
And I'm not overly keen on his look either. So I'm really funny. I like characters and gimmicks and stuff like that. And there's guys that absolutely have all the talent in the world, and I just go, meh. He's running the mill. I was never a huge Bret Hart fan either. Bret Hart to me was always boring.
Right.
I'm a Road Warriors is my type of guys. I love the Road Warriors. They're my favourite tag team ever. They're an absolutely amazing team. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to talk to any of them, but I did get a birthday message sent to me by Joe, who died like 3 or 4 days later.
Oh, really?
Aye. I've got a signed card as well. Kid Thompson that works on the shows. He collects. He's a huge, massive collector. He does all the Dynamite Kid stuff. That's his British Bulldog. So that's his thing. So he sends away cards and gets them signed and stuff like that. So he managed to get Joe to sign this trading card, which I've got in pride and joy. It sits upstairs in my other display. I've got a wee display cabinet in here with all my belts that I've got over the years, and then upstairs I've got my kind of private collection as such. That's like belts that have been on shows and things, but my private collection is stuff that means stuff to me. That kind of idea.
Very good. We'll talk about your career. Obviously, you grew up in Drongan. Was it always a plan to get into wrestling? Was that always your kind of ambition? Like,
no. If I was being completely and utterly honest with you, I was a bit of a raging alcoholic, to be honest. Right. And I decided one day I was going to shows. BCW came to town. My friend Rosalie McCluskey had got in contact with the team at BCW and asked them to come and do shows. And they came and did a couple of shows in Drongan, and I was like, do you know, I think I could do that. At that time I was 21 stone. I was big, massive. I was like, I think I could do this. Like, I've always loved wrestling. Watching the WWF and the VHS that my dad would bring home for his mate that worked that had Sky TV. That was a new thing for us in the 90s. Like, what's this? Sky TV? And then we'd go down to the chip shop and stuff like that, and you would rent out a video. Right? For them that don't know what a video is, you know what I mean? Back in the day, then WrestleManias, we'd watch all them and write up, basically caught up with the back catalogue with old Silvervision, caught up with that, and then up to present day. But World of Sport era.
Yeah.
Watched all the World of Sport stuff. I loved all that. McManus, Haystacks, you know, Johnny Saint and Steve Gray. Best match I've ever seen. One was the European middleweight, and the other one was the English middleweight champion. And they had a match. I always remember it because it was basically what the essence of wrestling is: catch as catch can. It was hold for hold, blow for blow. Everything that they two guys did was an absolute clinic. And I know that sounds really dumb when I say that. I think I find Bret Hart boring, but Bret Hart's technical style is great, tremendous, but I just find it boring. But watching Steve Gray and Johnny Saint, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And of course, I was heavily involved with the Wrestlers Reunion here in Scotland as well for the first couple of years yet. And then I stepped down for it, doing too much. I'm a trade union rep at the hospital as well, so I've got that many fingers and that many pies, it's unreal. I was also helping out in my local community, helping run the community centre and stuff like that as part of that kind of group. So there was a lot going on here in Kincasson at the time. So I thought something had to give, and I bowed out for the Wrestlers Union. I don't miss helping to organise and stuff like that, although I would say actually I really do miss it, because I was quite close with Andy, Teddy Bear Taylor, Glitter Boy Gillett, you know, these guys that are all kind of running it. I'm really quite friendly with them. And the similarity between me and Andy Bryden is unreal. He's born in September, I'm born in September. We're both Virgos, we both love AC/DC. His name was Dale Storm, my name was Logan Storm. His first match and my first match both had a thunderstorm. When we started wrestling years and years ago. I retired and came back to wrestling because he sought me out.
Right.
He wrote a book and asked me to come down and to the book release and stuff like that. It's like, come back, do one match, like modern day versus like golden era and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of crippled here, all, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And he was like, no, you'll be fine, you're going to fight my brother. And I seen his brother's a bloody fireman. Like, built like a tank. And I'm like, there's no chance this man's going to eat me. I mean, I went to the gym, started training again and getting myself into shape and dropped a few pounds and stuff and started coming the gear and get the strength back up, but I hadn't been in actual ring. And then when I think about it now, had I got back into the ring with somebody that was doing a completely different style for which I do, based style, the reunions we kind of cry it is crossover. The old British style's kind of missing now, unless you get into Marty Jones or something like that kind of British style, catch can sort of thing is kind of missing now. You can still see it's still prevalent because some of the holds and stuff go into it. But it's very much Americanized now, which is American wrestling. You go to a poster, what they put on it? American wrestling. You know what I mean? So it's just that. Yeah.
So what about obviously your kind of first few matches in training? Do you remember the kind of first few matches where it was like getting right in front of a crowd for the first time?
Do you mean like being in training and wrestling?
Aye, like when you were training, and obviously it's about learning the moves and things like that, but it's learning how to connect with a crowd. Is that how did you kind of find that the early stages?
I've got an acting background, so connect is pretty much what you do. Like you can look at a crowd and you hold that hand out, and that wee boy that just wants to touch you, because he can give you the power to hulk up and be able to defeat your foe, who's going to pick you up and slam you in 2 seconds. But you're trying to draw that power for the crowd. Simple things, but I was mainly a heel. So it's a lot easier to get people to hate you than it is to get them to love you. And as a heel, you would come out, you don't need to say much. You really don't need to say anything. You can get folk to automatically boo. You just walk out, they all that. These are all inbreds and this, that, and the next thing. Anything at all, slag them off. And it gets you over. And you can be loved as a bad guy just as much as you can be loved as a good guy. And as I try to explain to people, when you're a bad guy, the more boos you get, that's like getting cheers for a good guy. That's the same idea. But I mean, you get guys that come back and say, I really don't like being the bad guy. Like, well, you are a bad guy because that's what I need. We'll turn you a guy eventually, but right now I need you a bad guy. Until that time, you're playing the bad guy. And it's terrible because they're really good guys. Yeah. And they're so nice and they're so plausible. I try to be nice with everybody. We were always taught locker room etiquette. But you go in and you talk to everybody, you shake everybody's hand, you speak to everybody that's there, you never bypass them. Even the guy that's brushing the hallway up, everything. You always do that. And I've always prided myself on being able to do that. So I think being a kind of genuine nice guy, it works better for you than to be backstage going, no, I'm not talking to him. I'm just going to be very, very quiet. Like, you can be very quiet, but you should always, let's say to guys, especially if you go into the locker room and you've got somebody that's been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years, even if you've been in the business 2 years longer than you, you've got to kind of pay your respects to them that comes before you, and I think I've always kind of did that. I like to think I've always been quite respectful for them and stuff. I mean, I remember we would go training at East Kilbride, and then we would come down to Grand Hall to set up for a show. And the owner at the time had said to me, "Why are you not getting in the ring?" I says, "I've not earned that privilege to train in the ring. Like, once I get to that stage and I've earned the privilege to get into the ring, then I'll go into the ring. But until then, I'm quite happy just putting the chairs out, doing a bit of security, doing some checks and things like that." And eventually we got to shows and it was like, you're in the ring, you're training, blah, 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 all that caper. I mean, me and TJ, we were the two biggest guys at the training school. So kind of automatically gravitated towards each other because he was going to pick me up and I was going to pick him up, But when you start tagging, nobody really picks you up to slam each other. And I always remember it. We were in Paisley and we were fighting Fight Club, the original Fight Club, Judge Jimmy James and Kid Fight. And backstage, Kid Fight turns to Judge and says, "No Germans. The boys haven't learned Germans yet. Don't do any Germans." Middle of the match, me and Judge comes round about me, hooks in. I was like, oh, absolutely packed my shants. Didn't know what was happening. He went to launch me out of the top of him. I then went this and dove to the side. And you can see me doing like as if I'm trying to make a save. I've been Andy Gorham swinging with Judge. I always say this, that you've never had a scheme booting like a Fight Club scheme booting. But do you know something? It wasn't I wouldn't say that it wasn't fair because it was, but in the same token, it was unnecessary. It wasn't. It's not like sometimes guys will stiffen up in the ring a bit so that you can smarten yourself up and wisen up. Like, stop what you're doing, slow down, cool down a bit. They'll give you a stiff one, or they'll give you a receipt back, because when Judge went to throw me over, obviously he's tweaked something because he's landed incorrectly. I've landed on top of him almost. Yeah. So I've caused him an injury. So he's going to give me a wee scud just to say, look, don't do that again. Like, just go with it. But in wrestling, it's, if you do just make yourself floppy and just go with it, you'll find that you'll not get hurt. Like, guy doing the move is the guy that's doing everything. You just have to go with the ride. All you do is remember to tuck your chin and get your arms out. Everything else, you just go with the ride. It's the guy that's doing it all. Do you know what I mean? But I have to say, favourite opponents ever, Original Fight Club. Hands down.
What about some of the other ones like you worked with as well? Because I look kind of through some of your kind of matches. You fought like a Wolfgang, who's obviously went on to do really well. There's a lot of guys in there who have went on to be really successful. Could you see that early on when you first went in the ring with them, that they would go on and do well?
Wolfgang's always had potential, always from day one. Wolfie is a different class of person. I remember Kid Fight saying to me once, being backstage, and he said to me, see if you could pick anybody backstage to be like, it's him. Because Wolfgang, there's no politics. He just comes in, he talks to everybody, has a laugh every day. He's such a nice guy. He's brilliant. BT Gunn, another one. I really think he'll end up in the WWE, BT, and I'm absolutely stoked to the fact that I've got him on my show. For me, he's one of the top talents in the UK right now, in my book. And I'm like, well, we really don't make enough noise about this. This man's coming down to work here, like coming to work for me. This is brilliant. And he's like, oh, it's all right, pal. Like, I'll come and I don't mind coming down to work for you. I'm quite happy to come and work for you. And I'm like, my goodness, you don't realise how good you are. You know what I mean? But then he's very level-headed as well. He always has been level-headed, always been nice, respectful. Big Killian Dane, or Damo.
Yeah.
I wrestled him a few times when it was him and Scotty the Butcher. I love the Butcher. Me and him used to forearm 7 shades out each now. Stiff as anything. Stiff but safe. Do you know them? Why like they put a forearm in quite like Scotty the Butcher did. Damo, he was just quite great to work with. His psychology in the ring was really second to none, Big Damo. And then his missus, Nikki, who was Storm. So we did a charity show. I think Falcon had done this charity show for a wee lassie named Marie. I can't even remember exactly what her second name was. She had kind of Down syndrome and stuff like that. So they did a kind of charity night for her. She needed to go to, I think, America for some sort of treatment. Anyway, so we did it, and it was BMW, Britain's Most Wanted versus Raging Storm, which is me and TJ, and they had Nikki. And I was like, you know, like, we could really ham this up because, like, you're Storm, I'm Storm. Why don't we do a, like, you're my sister sort of thing? She was like, yeah, that's great, that's brilliant. So she's like my kayfabe sister. So then I'm sitting watching the TV and there she's doing WWE and you're going, yeah, that's my sister. I'm going to tell you, well done, you know, like, just having a laugh. But
do you get a bit of pride of that as well? See, when you see like Nikki doing well, like winning titles and like the WWE and things like that, do you get a bit of pride in you that you've kind of been with them and been friends with, like been good friends with them kind of thing?
Well, I mean, when I see any of the wrestlers doing well, I love it. Because I'll say, my boys will go, you ever share the locker room with him, Dad? Yep. Share the locker room, share the ring, share the car, shared his lunch. Do you know what I mean? Me and Drew Galloway, we used to get into Tam's Brig at 2 o'clock in the morning when it was just the key and go train. We would be in there lifting weights at 2 o'clock in the morning because none of the two of us had a membership, but he still had the key to get in. So we used to get in there. And then we would go to Banny times at stupid o'clock as well, me and him. Because my first ever training, I walked in with Drew Galloway. Drew McIntyre, you know, and Drew and me, we still talk back and forward. Every now and again, I'll send him like a wee message and stuff like that. Or normally just before one of the big shows. I was stoked when he won the title. But unfortunately, it was a crowdless. And I always think, you know, give him a shot with a crowd in front of him. Please just give him that where the crowd's all cheering for him to lift that belt. I mean, we were all cheering at home for him, but
yeah, I know.
I'd love to have been like there when he won it. And then, of course, he's got Roman, I think, in Wales.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So that'll be good to see. Nikki, Dewdrop, Kimberly, she's fantastic as well. Now, it's hilarious to see the two of them working together, Nikki and Dewdrop working together. They used to wrestle each other at SW.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're seeing them on the show working together and stuff like that, and you're going, it's really good to see what people you know and you spent time with. But even with the NXT UK guys, you could Jordan Devlin share the ring with him. Andy Wilde, he's been on UK a couple of times, share the ring with him. Mark Andrews, share the ring with him. There's loads of guys. I mean, you could name drop all day, but when you see them on there, you just go, yep. And it's hilarious because you go, yep, spend some time with him. He's actually quite good. He's a good guy. He's all right. You know, never really spoke much to him, but I know him. That kind of idea. Like Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
Best match I ever seen him do here was against Kid Fight.
Right.
In BCW in the Grand Hall. And the two of them put on a clinic in the middle of the ring. Now, when we did the training and stuff like that, Kid Fight would come in and we'll go, oh, I'll be sure of that flippy dippy stuff, because the other trainer didn't like the flippy dippy stuff. He liked the big power bombs and stuff like that. But Kid Fight was thinner and more flexible and able to deal with this stuff. And then when he went out there with Zack Sabre Jr., I mean, the two of them just looked like $1 million. And you would think to yourself, that belongs to be on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like the two of them belong to be on TV. They really do. They've been tremendous opponents to each other. And that whole match was brilliant. That was one of my favourite matches to watch in an independent scene. So it was. But Zack Sabre Jr., he's not exactly WWE. He's out in Japan.
Yeah.
A big name in Japan again. So it's really good that you study folk.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of kind of ending your in-ring career, was it the right time to kind of do that? You thought, was it physically? Was it just? Do you know when it's time?
It was I was getting to the stage where I was physically in pain all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My legs were giving me jip constantly. I was waiting till I get home and I was doping myself up with pain relief, alcohol, and stuff like that. And then the missus was like, enough's enough. Like, you used to be able to wait till you get home, and now you're coming out of the hall venue, dubbing any painkillers you can possibly get. She said, then you're telling me to make sure I've got vodka or a lager in the car because you want to drink when you get into the car. She says, this is, I have to do something. So we went to the doctors and physios and stuff, said there was nothing wrong with my knees. Nothing wrong with your knees. Knees are fine. All right, okay. But it's transferred pain from your hips. So it turns out 1998 1980, when I was born with major hip impingement, which meant you've got a ball and socket joint sits like that. Mine sits like that.
Right.
And it made, because TJ was trying to show me how to do a figure four. I can do a British figure four, no problem. I cannot do a Ric Flair figure four for love nor money, because my hips don't bend out of alignment to do that. So TJ would sit and take stretching exercises and stuff like that, and basically we're just bending bone. We're stretching, we're trying to break my legs. That was it, basically. And then I had major hip impingement. I went and spoke to the doctors, and at that point, this is the bit that really galls me. At that point, I was getting bookings out in Europe. I was going to Germany. I was getting out on the name for myself, doing well, just really starting to go places. And the GP's like, right, we'll bring you in. Sent to the doctors, went to see the surgeon. He's like, so you wrestle? I was like, yep. He said, when you get your hips done, that's your career, bye. And like, absolutely not. And then he's like, well, there's two options. You either get your hips done or you get a wheelchair in 6 years. I said, I'll take the wheelchair. And the wife's like, you're not doing that, because obviously wrestling is your sideline. It's not your main job. You don't make any money for wrestling unless you're in the big leagues. Like, you don't. So you might make enough to get by the weekend and get someone to the next week or whatever, but unless you're a promoter or a big name. I wasn't a big name, but by the time I would have became a big name, if the stars aligned properly, I'd have been crippled.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have had no longevity in it, and that would mean being in a wheelchair. So then what do you do then? I had a great life. Then I screwed up because I didn't listen. So I got my hips done. 20, I think my last match was 2010, I think it was April 2010 or 2011, something like that, because I was meant to get the hips done. I was just stopped wrestling before I was getting the hips done, but I wanted to wrestle right up till I get my hips done. I thought Hulk Hogan could wrestle in a dodgy hips, so can I, but Hulk Hogan only has to do 3 moves. I have to do all the moves. So, got my hips done. Suffered a stroke while they were putting my hips in. I've had 3 strokes since, so I've got a left-sided weakness. Occasionally, I never see me eating soup in public. It runs down my cheek. And at certain times when I'm drinking things like that, you see it running down the side of my cheek. And I deliberately grow my beard so that you can't really see the fact that my mouth droops at one side.
Right.
Sounds daft, but it does. I'm terrible with times and dates. I never remember anything. If I don't write something down, it never happened. In fact, I've just had a conversation with talent there that I booked. Don't remember booking them. I'm like, oh no, you were away in holding. He's like, mate, that was like June, July way. He says, I've told you, but I'm up for this match. I was like, so I've had to add one in. Like, it's like, here we go. Like, totally screwed the pooch here. I don't know why I did that. Memory, terrible, absolutely terrible. I knew I'm going for heart surgery. That's my next thing. So I mean, I look all right. I look reasonably fit and healthy, but technically speaking, the inside bits of me is just not working right. I drag my left leg. I constantly fought with it. I'm always in pain since I get my hips done. It's just never ending. But that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's aye. I mean, it's just hard to hear what you've just kind of said and things like that. And we wish you obviously all the best with the heart surgery and things. But getting into your own promotion, like what's that like? What goes into that? I'm always intrigued to know how you make that kind of leap to go and like, I can do that. I could do this myself. How do you do that? How does that come about?
I was very, very, very lucky. I was older than the majority of the trainees when I was training. So I was the same age as the promoters, BCW.
Mm-hmm.
When they were doing a bit of promoting and stuff like that, I would always go with them. I'd go and meet trips soon here, there and everywhere and learn bits and bobs and get taken under the wing. Ross could fight. Also took me under his wing a fair bit for showing how things work, the reasons why you do it, all that kind of stuff. So I really got to thank my trainers at the time for giving me that insight into doing what I could do. And then we did a couple of shows in Drongan, which I did all the promotions for everything. Colin at the time, who was running BCW, he was like, right, if you can get another venue, like let's try that. So we did the school hall, it's bigger. He's like, I think we'll sell it out. I was like, aye, but you'll need to, your ticket prices, it's fine, you can charge big bucks, but we do a wee village.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a village that's underprivileged, you need to drop your prices a fair bit. So we dropped a couple of pound off it, so it was fine. We still did the usual buy 4 tickets, it's so much price, but buy 1 ticket, it's this price, that sort of idea. Did all that show. He phoned me up in that morning, didn't have any tuck shop. Could you get a tuck shop? I was like, I'll nip to Naughties and get the tuck shop that morning. Grabbed the tuck shop, thrown it down. He told me to get somebody to sell the tuck shop, so I did. And basically, Graham booked the show. Colin turned up and built the ring and did his match. I did the promoting for the show, and at the end, Colin went to me, there you go. I was like, what's that? He says, that's your money. He says, you've promoted this show, you've sold it out, you've did this, you've did that, you managed to put it all into place. He says, did you go? And he gave me the money. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Do you know, like a millionaires, you're throwing your money about the bed, you're just rolling it. That sort of thing. I was like, hey! And then from there, I kind of got the bug for wanting to be a promoter. But again, there was a kind of, me and Rob Cage, I'm not supposed to mention him on my podcast and stuff like that because he doesn't like it. But we sat together and we were like, you know, we could run a promotion at some point. We really could. And at that time, there was nothing really happening here. We had the Citadel for BCW, and they would run it a couple of times, but the Citadel was quite expensive.
Right.
Ran it a couple of times, but it was all right. It's no bad draw. It's not like what it is now, because now it's massive. Like Wrestling Experience Scotland did a tremendous job there. Obviously, the line for them. And I was like, you know, we could do something in Ayrshire and just keep it in Ayrshire. The goals, I'm just want to travel around about Ayrshire. I'm just want to be in with the villages, the town halls.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get stuff to do there. But then I've kind of realised now that travelling is a nightmare. Because the majority of my talent's all Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
Glasgow, Aberdeen, Fife, you know, it's a long distance to get here. So if they've got to get here and then they've got to try and find an Ayrshire village in the middle of nowhere, it's twice as hard and twice as money for petrol. And petrol's that expensive now. So you're like, well, do you know, I'll do towns, I'll try and keep towns, but then trying to find towns that aren't already occupied as well is quite hard, because at the time Respect was running, you've got Wrestling Experience Scotland running, you've got Graham running. Then I turned up at the blue. Mega Slam, they run Moncton. The Television Express, it's a hotel in Moncton. And you're like, wow. So like, there's no much space for moving, and there's a kind of unwritten rule as such, like 8 mile for the venue. Like that's the kind of minimum distance you need to be. But Ayrshire's quite good because the small wee areas all lead into the towns as such.
Yeah.
Whereas, so you've got to watch your catchment. I mean, the only reason I'm doing a show in Ayr is because it's over 18s. And wrestling, minute I'm just doing the farmers friendly stuff, which I normally do. And Venue 38 were like, we're trying to get stuff going in the town. We're trying to get like entertainment in. They brought in gun. They've got bands playing, gigs playing, because they've tried to deal with it. They don't want it being labelled a nightclub.
Yeah.
So the whole Madison's nightclub's gone. Venue 38's the name of it. It's promoting shows is what they want to do. So they were like, could you come in and do like an over 18 show? And I was like, really don't want to touch here because that would break the code of rules. Like, but because it's an over 18 show and not a family friendly show, there's a bit of kind of grey matter there, so I couldn't do it, which is fine. You know, I've done it, so we'll see if it pays off. It pays off, and if it doesn't, oh well. You know, we tried it. It's as simple as that. But as I say, Wrestling Experience Scotland, they run here, I think twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. They're in the big touring loop. They're up in Bathgate and everything, so they're down here. Graham runs BCW at Grand Hall, I think twice a year. And they used to do, they used to do Ballarat Hall, which has been used as a court now. So it's back up. So he is going to start doing shows again in East Kilbride, which is his home turf. Also, it's trying to make sure that when they've put dates out, my dates don't clash. I mean, I know Wrestling Experience are doing one in October. I've also doing one in October, but mine's is after theirs. So I think they're the first kind of weekend in October or something, and I'm not to the second or third weekend in October. Venue still to be announced because we were going to run at Irvine from Bound Station. We were on the December show, but we're still waiting on the local authorities getting back to give us the green light for that. If no, we'll be back to Troon. Or another area, another town hall somewhere. I'm trying to get the furthest up I want to be is Irvine. I don't want to be any further than Irvine because distance-wise for me and logistic-wise, it's no great. I mean, but I laugh because all the wrestlers will be home or in the pub partying and stuff like that, and I'm still trying to get the ring put away into storage, try to get in the road, and then when I get home, like the wife's like, "Oh, I got a Chinese here, it's called." Like, yeah, I'm just trying to go to my bed because I'm exhausted. Like, and then of course I move all the ring and stuff myself. Dodgy hips. 3 strokes, left-sided weakness, you know, and I'm still lifting this ring in and out. I've got a team of boys that help me, and I'd be totally lost without them. But I'm still having to do the physical side of it as well. But they keep saying to me, like Big Bad John, show the man, he's like, would you just take a step back? Then when I take a step back, all he does is slag me off. Yeah, big lazy, get you. Well, thanks, John. Take a step back, but don't take a step back. But
see, like, obviously as you say about the promotion going forward, like what's the ambition for this time next year? Like, where do you want to be? Is it just a case of obviously get talent in and kind of continue what you're doing? Is there like ambitions to go like even further? Like, is it sticking to Ayrshire? Is that the plan?
Sticking to Ayrshire. We're not expanding at Ayrshire. I've got Maybole and Girvan to look at. They've been in talks trying to bring me down that way. So if I can get down there, brilliant. I had said possibly heading down towards Stranraer.
Right.
And that would be that's the very furthest outreach. We've got camp shows as well that's been inquired about. There's like we independent caravan parks.
Yeah.
There's a whole group of them that runs up and down the whole of west of Scotland, and they're like, oh, do you know, like we would like to bring in some sort of entertainment and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, there's guys out there that do camp shows. Like at that time, I didn't even have a ring, but now I've got my own ring, so I can do camp shows, which is fine. But they were like, we'll get you to come in and we'll have a chat. And that, so we'll set it all up. But the meeting's not to the end of the year really, so that we can put it in place for next year. So that would mean I need to take a week off my work and do a 7-day tour, which means I'm going to have to try and encourage guys to come away and work for 7 days to do this run, because it's like 4 or 5 different like venues.
Yeah.
You start the way down Stranraer and work your way up, that sort of idea. So if I can get that running, that'll be great. It's just a case of, as I say, like trying to put all your ducks in the one basket as such.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully that'll come to fruition, because that would be really quite good. Because that's all really giving guys a stage to work on. So as folk are always like, must be make money out of it if you're doing all these shows. What? Not made a penny. Haven't made a thing. Like the wrestlers make more money in a show than what I do. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, the money I make on the show goes into the next show.
Mm-hmm.
That show goes into the next show, and then the next show I've got a wife and wages and a mortgage to pay on top of having my wages. You know, it's like, I've made not a penny.
Saturday, what's the card? What's the kind of matches we can look forward to?
Oh, well, what match would you like to look forward to? In my opinion, this card's hard hitting. We have TJ Rage and BT Gunn. That itself should be enough for MD to want to come to the show. TJ's the Ayrshire Heavyweight Champion, dubbed the Believe Championship. It's just exciting right now, isn't it? You have the Source Championship. Now, there's the thing. We're talking about the forbidden door and the feds, these AEWs and all that caper. You don't really see it in independent scenes. Like, you can be a champion elsewhere, but when you come to this show, you're just you. There's no mention. You're not allowed to wear your belt. You're not allowed to whatever. And I'm like, bring your belt, wear your belt. Why no? Let's give you the accolade.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why. Like, if I was, just say for instance, if I was the champion of PBW, and I turn up and I'm getting beat by the jobber, so that would make it look bad. But as a promoter, I need to make sure that I wouldn't have that happening. You know, if it's a match you want to see, you would say, don't bring your belt out, you're not get mentioned for that sort of thing. But if you had your belt, you can wear your belt. I spoke to Source, Yum Yum, David Evelyn, and I asked him, would you Stone defending his title on one of my shows, like Forbidden Door sort of stuff? Was that, go for it, mate, absolutely. So I'm like, absolutely. So every time we post up, we tag Source in it. Source has got to be there. So, the Source champion's going to be there, Stone Malone, but he's going up against Zakib Ali, number one. He's the Scottish Interpromotional Champion. That belt isn't actually a Pro 2 belt, but when he went onto Iron Girders and dropped the belt and then won it back, they've tagged us in it like it's a Pro 2 belt, but it doesn't belong to Pro 2. It's an individual belt. So Zakib can actually go anywhere with it.
Right.
Any show and stuff like that, as long as the promoters are talking to me who's got the belt, and if the belt's travelling and whatever it's moving to and stuff. So it's it's an independent belt. So this is going to be Scottish Interpromotional title versus the Source Heavyweight title, and that itself's another great thing. So we've got two belts, one for a different company, all together, and they're all going to come together. So that's going to be amazing. That's a selling point right here. Do you know what I mean? So you might even get Source fans come down and go, well, actually, we like Champs, so we can follow him down.
Yeah.
We've got Frank Cross is going to finally give Shame the doing. I don't know if you follow the shows and stuff like Adam. Shame has been a thorn in my side since the day now I've opened this company. I swear, I love him to bits, but I hate him. I'm trying not to swear, but he does my nutting at times. You know what I mean? He's every show. We did the show at Troon, and he wasn't even booked. I knew he was booked at Respect that night, which was our kind of Lochwinnock way. 15, 20-minute drive. Not that far away. So here we are, quite the thing. And I'm backstage deliberately trying to keep out the road every day. So I wasn't being on the show at all, because I'm like Vince McMahon, you don't see me.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be like Eric Bischoff. You would see him. He makes all that decision. Then, in the middle of the tag match, there's an awful folk shouting ball and growing stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? And I looked down and I could see my guys getting their arms not all moving. I went, that looks like bloody Shamey. I went down there and it's Shamer and Sweeney, because Bobby Roberts, big nasty Bobby Roberts, he was the top heel for us, but he's had to retire due to his back gain at them, basically. And then Respect shut up shop as well. So I mean, he's totally jacked wrestling together. And he was a thorn on my side to start off with, because he was another Ayrshire rival promotion that was born and bred in Ayrshire. So it was like North Ayrshire versus South Ayrshire all the time. And he would always get that bit in. Oh, I'm all the way down here, sort of kind of slagging us off. But then Shamer's kind of picked up that mantle and kept running. And then there's this Sweeney, who I don't remember Sweeney been on many shows at all. I remember him from being at ICW. And then when I've had a look back through his history and that, the man's been everywhere. How did I miss this guy? Anyway, so he's turned up with Shamer, and him and Shamer are really good pals. And they did something on, I think it was Grado's big family wrestling show up at the Pavilion. They were on that together, and they really look quite good together. Although Sweeney's not contracted to Pro 2 and shouldn't he be on a Pro 2 show, but him and Shamer was getting at Big Licks, so caused a bit of stushy. They get put out the building. Aye. So Shamer's going to get a doing for Frank Cross. Frank Cross is the marshal of Pro 2. Very, very high on Frank. I like his luck. I like his gimmick. I like having about him. Sadly, he's not won a single match at Pro 2. Hasn't won a match yet. But he's when you look at you look at Frank Cross, he looks like a wrestler. He's got the frame. He's got the nice shape to him. Do you know, he looks like a wrestler, and I quite like him. So he's going to give Shamer a scheme booting. I've told him, I said, don't wrestle him. Don't wrestle him. I just want to fight him. And I don't care. You just make sure you win. He's like, I'll give him. Looking forward to that match. The Bells match. There you go. Rosie Knight, Bells Division champion. She had an injury on the last show and decided that she wasn't going to compete. And Ruby and Ellie had a fight for number one contender. But the number one contender is Emily Hayden.
Right.
So she is. So once Emily gets her title shot, it's like Rosie's trying to fix my women's division is all other bit. I keep putting them in like 3 and 4 matches and stuff like that because I think nowadays we speak out. You need to have a women's locker room and a guy's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to have that sort of diversity there, and to have to book out another room for 2 females, you're kind of like, you know. I've got 100 guys here in the tiniest wee dressing room that I possibly can, and I've got that big room next door, but I can't even put them in there because I've got 2 females in it, you know. And then we're priding myself on trying to make sure that everybody's got a place, everybody's got a position, you know,
yeah.
a safe environment backstage. We're not having any nonsense or any shenanigans. That's been dealt with straight away. So I book in 3 or 4 lasses at a time, but then I think, well, that's going to end up being 7 or 8 matches. Well, no WWE. I mean, the formula that works is 6 matches. You know, the Waynes are more fatigued with the cheering and stuff like that if you put 1 million matches. So I put them into 1 match, and Rosie actually hit the nail on the head. And she's doing, I don't know whether she's subconsciously sorting out the Bells division, running about me, and me not being bright enough to actually understand what she's doing. But Emily's got number one contender shit. So that's going to be a 1-on-1 fight, or maybe. I might put a wee span in her about Sarah, I don't know, but it can be. So that'll happen. So whoever wins out of Rosie and Emily will go on to face Ruby, because Ruby's at the spot. So if Ruby wins, on to the next one, whatever. But Ellie Armstrong is absolutely, I mean, she's a badass, right? But she's bloody good. Like, you cannot deny that lassie can wrestle. She can wrestle. She's really, really good. And I think she needs a bit of push. So I've kind of noticed that she's doing well. But again, I haven't seen her in a 1-on-1 situation with the exception of Ruby. And Ruby beat her, but just narrowly. So I'm like, you know, for the show, I would like you to face Rosie on the show. So I messaged Rosie, like, are you going to be able to do this match? Are you going to be fit as that shoulder? Up to par? And she's like, I'm just back from my holidays. I feel good. So I'm back at training. Like, really, really up for this. So that's going to be a hard-hitting match as well. And Rosie, when you look at Rosie and you go, she's only a wee lassie. Like, how's she going to manage to fight these folk off? She's ruthless and tenacious, and she fights every day. Like, she probably fights in her sleep, to be honest with you. And that's what I like about Rosie. The first ever female champ. So she is. She's the first Bells champ, undefeated. And I keep putting out there, got these number one contenders, but every time she's in a match, I'm like, you're fighting for your title. She's like, no. She did it last one, not fighting for the title. So that's why she pulled herself out of the match and reorganised it with the 2 females that was there and said that they were to fight for it. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, you know, like, I don't pay you to come on here and organise out my stuff, but we'll see how that progresses on. We're beating round about the bush. Death match. Iceman. The Iceman cometh versus his son Jack. That, if you follow the deathmatch stuff that Rise and things is doing, it's wow. Do you mean there's going to be blood? There is. I don't like glass, so I've said I don't want any glass. I don't want tubes. I don't want any of that because I'm going to have to sweep it up. And knowing me being as clumsy as I'll end up getting cut. Don't want glass. So, right, we'll not do glass. We'll do this. We'll do that. Like, okay. And I'm like, this is sounding gruesomer by the minute. Maybe we're better off just doing the glass. You know what I mean? I've told them no glass. So we'll see what happens for that. That's going to be tremendous. It's father versus son match. Will Jack be able to step out the shadow Iceman? Or will Iceman manage to keep him in there? Do you know? I mean, Isaac, I've known Isaac for years. We've got on great. He's always been a true gentleman. Just such a lovely, lovely bloke. And for being such a hard man, he's such a lovely guy. Do you know that, right? And I like Isaac, and I do have a lot of time for him. So when I go on to do an over 18s, he's the first person I phoned. Never phoned any of my champions. He's the first person I phoned. I mean, he shot you back wrestling because I see him doing it rise. He's like, yep, I'll do it. I was like, I need to find somebody of your caliber. Like up here, it would be like Jack Jester, that sort of idea. But Jack Jester and Isaac has had mini battles, and I'm trying to stuff that's not been seen before. So Isaac turned around and went, I'll phone Jack. And of course, I'm thinking, all right, that's great, who Jack is. So then Jack messages me back and forward. The last time I seen Jack, he was 10-year-old and he was tiny. And all of a sudden, at the end of this phone is a man talking to me, and I'm going, this boy's face. I don't know where I can place him. He's like, I met you years ago at a show. I'm like that. Met me at a show. You're a fan. It's this. And he's like, he says, no, I'm Jack. I'm Isaac's son. He's like, you know. So that's going to be good. They're going to be battling that out. Krieger versus Mayhem Brooks. You said Mayhem Brooks, the cheeky chappy. It brings to mind of Conor McGregor. He does a bit of me, so he does, and he wrestles as well. But he has put out a couple of videos, shall we say, and every time he puts a wee post up his Facebook or his Twitter or whatever Krieger's doing, he's crying into his boots or like sewing his underpants or whatever he's doing, and he's like, I'm training hard up at 4 a.m, drinking beer at 5, blah blah blah, or this keep a hot tub in it, we're jaunting about the countryside. He's not taking it seriously. That's how confident he is, and you've got to love somebody that's cocky. Same token, Krieger's a big lad, like, and he's hard hitting, and I think Krieger's going to white flame him, personally. But Krieger's like, all right, okay, and I messaged Krieger. I was like, mate, this boy is all over you on social media, like, and you've not even replied once. He's like, don't worry, mate, I'll be popping a video after you just shortly. We got one last night. It was released last night. The Glasgow Grindhouse. So that seems to be the new name for him and Luke Sharp, the Glasgow Grindhouse. So it is. So I think they've evolved again into more harder hitting than what they were beforehand. Because I had brought them in on the last show we did at Anbank to fight Dean Ford and Shamer, because this was to get Shamer back for everything else he's been doing. And Dean Ford also interrupted my show for the Joker's belt and went after Logan Smith.
Right.
And saying that, they're not on this match, but they are scheduled to face each other for that Joker's title, the Why So Series title, at Pro Wrestling Scotland. Again, Forbidden Door opened. There's a Pro2 Championship match is going to be on a different show. So, I mean, I'm trying to work with as many promotions as possible. That the door is in, I'm right up for it. I just think I like wrestling that much. I want to be pals with every day. I don't want to step in any teas. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I'm just here to try and help make the scene bigger. And some of the guys, there's that many. You've got ICW, you've got BCW, you've got PBW, you've got your top tier like promotions. So much room. So then you had Respect, you had Pro Wrestling Innovation, which was Krieger's promotion, but he's decided to keep that a binary. You've got Big Massive Wrestling, which is Dex, Frank Cross's promotion. Then you've got us, you've got Fair City Wrestling, you've got SWE, you've got WrestleZone up north, you know, you even get Keith Ness. So they've got all these promotions that's kicking about, which is creating room for guys to get work. Because when I was working, there wasn't that many shows. You went to Scottish School of Wrestling, you went to SWE, you went to BCW, PBW, or ICW. That was WrestleZone, and that was really it in Scotland. There was nothing else.
Yeah.
And once you started working around about all them, if you get inveigled in a storyline, it kind of stopped bookings in other companies because you had to see that storyline. And if you get injured on that company show, how can you wrestle in another company? It's kind of, it's kind of, you need to watch what you're doing when you're getting your bookings in. I mean, it's great to be involved in the storyline, And if you look at Pro2, that's all storylines. I'm currently all the way up to 2024 with storylines right now. So
that's what I like. I like the kind of long-term booking aspect of it, because you've got if I was doing it, I would always have an end first and then work the way back. Is that the way you did it?
Sort of. Initially, what I do is I put the titles on the table and I go, who do I want to start these off, and how do I get them to that position, and I orchestrate it in that way. And then with Charles Boddington, right? You've got Charles Boddington coming into the mix, manager of champions, right? See, he's appeared at Troon, but he's never been seen since. So it's like, where is he? What's he doing? I see Charles backstage. All the shows, he's always backstage, having a look at people and talking to folk all the time. So I know he's recruiting. I just can't prove it. Do you know why? So I know that the next year when he comes into fruition, I know that there's going to be more term. You're going to see a lot more of Charles Boddington in Pro 2. For me, he was very pivotal in the 90s and the early 2000s, wrestling wise. He definitely was. Graham's been 20 years now in the business, nearly 21. It's a long time for somebody, and his knowledge is outstanding. And like, if you can sit under his learning tree, you're doing well. You know, you really are doing well with him. But he's going to come into it. So having him in the mix, and they need to have storylines written in for him. But in the same token, I don't really need to write a storyline for him, because I'm only working with the wrestlers. So if he comes in, he attaches himself to one of the wrestlers I've got a storyline with, then that is what it is. But I am up to 2024 with my bookings so far. Well, with my storylines. But unfortunately, sometimes guys can't take bookings, they're elsewhere. I had Angel Hayes booked for my very, very first show, and she couldn't come. And she told me, she's like, I can't come. And I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, why can you not come? Like, you said you would take the booking. She's like, I can't tell you right now, but all will become clear just shortly. And I knew straight away she'd been signed. And she was in the WWE NXT UK, and she's doing there. So I can go out and say I've had 2 NXT UK guys with my shows, Andy Wilde and Angel Hayes. Andy Wilde came my European title, the UEWA heavyweight title. Do you know what I mean? So first ever show I brought out a European, so an import, my first ever show. He was Nitro Green. He was the UEWA cruiserweight champion at the time, who Blue King Shark bait for the title. So I mean, it's no impossible, but like, when you start opening up that door, you have lots of folk phoning you and messaging you. Like, there's guys from America phoned, wanting for bookings and all that. I would need to put you up in a hotel. Like, I would need to pick you up. I would need to make sure your itinerary's full. And to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, if you're going to get somebody from America, like, it's an ex-WWE star. It's not somebody trying to get their name out there. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to bring somebody out that's not got a name value, because you have to pay the flights and stuff. So and then unless they're working with another company, for like Can-Am, you see the Bulldogs are away after Can-Am wrestling. Big Otto had messaged me, want to work together. He wants to send talent out to me. I have to send talent out to him. But at the end of the day, talents are independent. Belong to a promotion. They're an independent contractor. They come in and they do the shift and they go. Don't really work for me. So, like, if I was to turn and say, all right, Otto's got to send me 2 guys here, do you want to go to Canada? Oh, by the way, you need to pay your flights. No. It's a great opportunity if you want to pay your flights and go, but the answer's no. And then I've got guys in Germany, Jason Johnny Tiger, Marcus Black, AMW and Deutsche Wrestling Alliance. They're wanting to do some talent exchanges and stuff like that as well. I worked for them on the Legends tour back in 2011, I think it was. Yep, 2010, was it? See, dates and times, strokes don't work. It's either 2011. That was good. So,
brilliant. We'll close with some quick fire questions. Are you ready to be put in the spot?
Yep.
Right. What is your highlight of your career so far, either as a wrestler or a promoter?
Highlight as a wrestler was getting a company to be wholly invested in us and award us belts. Believed in the team that much, we could carry that division. Put a championship on us. It was not about the fact that they gave us a championship. It was more the fact that they believed in us.
Brilliant. 3 wrestlers you could sign for Pro 2 tomorrow if they were available.
3 wrestlers I could sign in, like, hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically, yeah. Like I would say realistic UK talent. Like you've not had yet that you'd quite like to work with.
Jodie Flash. Doug Williams. Johnny Moss. I'm quite pally with Johnny Moss. I would like him to go in there, but he doesn't work shows anymore. He just does the training at the PC, but I'd like him back.
Favourite match in Pro 2 history? What's the best match you've watched since you started?
In Pro 2 history? Favourite match? Patter and Batter versus the Billington Bulldogs for the titles. Roy's hilarious. Such a funny wee guy. I quite like him. That was Stone Malone's partner.
Mm-hmm.
He was the patter to Stone's batter. Make me laugh so the day. Bye, that was a good match.
Dream location for a Pro 2 event. So where would you like to go in Ayrshire?
It's no secret that the best venue in Ayrshire is Kilmarnock Grand Hall. And I was lucky enough to graze that stage at one point in my career. I would never go there because Graham runs it with BCW, but that's the best venue in Ayrshire. It'll never be topped.
Logan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and best of luck for Saturday in the future of Pro 2 Wrestling. Thank you very much.
Cheers, my man. Thank you very much for having me.